aquí en la parte derecha y ahí ustedes podrán elegir el idioma en español. Si necesitan traducción simultánea, me podrán escuchar a mí apretando esa tecla. Gracias.
All right, we'll just take a moment to change that over to interpretation. And then we'll start the meeting.
Entonces vamos a empezar la junta en unos minutos cuando ya me cambien al canal en español.
Melissa,
Mhm.
you have a copy of that for Dulce?
I was just gonna bring it over.
Thank you. I figured it's much better. Didn't know if you were hogging it.
It was just quiet, so I thought I should.
Ah,
Oh.
Hates us tonight. It's okay, we hate him right back. It should be just a matter of any second now.
gracias por su paciencia. Unos minutos más, por favor.
Oh, it's not what anyone wants to live in our screen. Maybe that's why I can't find it.
While we were waiting, can I get a headshot to use all my contacts for my computer phone? No, I'm good for most people.
I know, like, I don't,
Is that okay with you?
yeah, it was just for the contact, I guess, yeah.
You didn't plan on it, though.
I know, I'm like, I didn't, cut me off.
Hey, I've asked her 3 times for a semi roll.
I know, but I'm like,
Just look this way. You can smile again, you have a big smile, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for the delay, but we now have interpretation set up and we're ready to rock and roll.
Outstanding, thank you very much. Bear with me, I'm writing at the same time I'm talking, that's never a good idea. Okay. Good evening, it is 6:26 PM on Monday, August 11th, 2025. My name is Don Gosney, and I welcome everyone to the meeting of the West Contra Costa Unified School District's Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. All members of the public are welcome to speak on any issue tonight that is on the agenda. A lot of government meetings require speaker forms, and the speaker is staring at a countdown clock telling them when to shut up and sit down. As a recipient of these policies, I've never been all that fond of them. I want everyone from the audience to feel as if this is their meeting, so space available. I invite everyone to sit at the grown-ups table. If you have something to say, please get my attention and I'll slot you in. I only ask that whatever you say, that be germane to the issues at hand and keep it brief. We also offer an opportunity under public forum to speak on any issue under the control of the CBOC that is not on the agenda. Under public comment, with limited exceptions, the CBOC is not allowed to reply to comments or questions. I want to give everyone a chance to speak, so if you have something to say, please raise your hand or get my attention. Those of you at home in particular, raise your hand, just follow the normal Zoom protocols. I will try to call on speakers in the order they get my attention. During staff presentations, please get the attention directly from the presenter. I want to remind everyone that we're being recorded and the system isn't as great as we might like, so when you speak, please speak loudly and clearly, so you can be recorded where others can hear and make out what you're saying on the video. If a motion is to be made, the maker of the motion and the seconder needs to state their name first, so there's a clear recording of this. We need to maintain a quorum of 6 members in the room. If we have fewer than 6 for any reason, the way we conduct our meetings changes. If you leave early, or even if you have to leave for a bio break, if we fail to have the requisite quorum, the minutes will have to take note. We can continue to have presentations, but no votes. The goal of our meetings is to conclude our business in 2 hours, but if we need to extend, this will only occur with the consent of the body. If we run out of time, some items may need to be deferred to a future meeting. Please stay focused on our real purpose, to oversee the bond funds and the bond projects. Everything else is just icing on the cake, with the finances and the projects being the cake. 2 of my responsibilities at these meetings include keeping one of my eyes on the agenda and all the while keeping the other eye on the clock, so we can get out as much of our work completed and still get us out of here in 2 hours. I try to be liberal in my handling of remote participation in speakers, but request that my good graces not be taken advantage of. I believe it's better to be inclusive rather than exclusive. Give me a moment, please, gathering up the agenda packet. Okay. We will now go on to the roll call. Son of a gun, I'm here. Brendan Havenar Doughton called in, saying he will not be able to make it. Giamma emailed me. She is gonna be here via Zoom or from home. She's got families to take care of. And Ellen, if you see her phone number listed, her name, please let me know, so I can make the record of the time. Andrew Butt. Here. Okay, Andrea Landon.
Here.
Tatiana Johnson.
Here.
Lynn Johnson. Lynn. She is participating via Zoom as well. Okay, Bill Claus called in, says he will not be able to make it. Dulce Galicia.
Here.
And Tasha Vargas. Tanya Vargas.
Here.
Well, somebody needs to change this agenda. My apologies. All right. Out of 10 members, we have 6 are required for a quorum. We have 6. We have a quorum. Good to know. Okay, item D, the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any suggestions for changing the agenda or comments? Hearing none, we'll accept the approval as presented. Do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda?
I do not see any hands at this time.
We do not see any hands at this time. All right,
We just got a hand,
okay, from
Sky Nelson.
Sky Nelson, please make your comment on the record.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for having me, Don, and everybody. It's nice to meet you. I'd like to meet many of you in person if I haven't already. I'm working with the West Contra Costa Community Building Group, and we're focusing on many items, mostly Measure T. And I'd like to meet many of you who've got experience with that. So I look forward to learning from this meeting about what you're covering here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sky, for attending. Okay, item F, no more, sorry, any more hands up?
That concludes public comment.
That concludes public comment. Item F, the introduction of new CBOC members. Last Wednesday night, the board approved 2 of our new CBOC members, give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, tell us about who you are and what you bring to our table here. You can fight over who gets to speak first.
Sure, I'll go first. My name is Lucy Alicia. I work for Fierce Advocates. I bring pretzels. No, I'm just kidding. I bring just knowledge about working with families, parents in this district for over a decade. I also used to work for a nonprofit housing developer. So just hope to merge some of my interests around community engagement and building and everything related to CBOC.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you speak again a little louder, please.
Yeah, I will try.
Thank you very much. Tanya.
My name is Tanya Vargas from Sacramento.
I told you it was.
No, the last name.
Misspelled twice.
Yeah.
Badly.
Yeah, both. I'm a parent and I grew up in Richmond, so I attended school in the West Contra Costa School District. I'm a senior nonprofit accountant. So I'm familiar with budgets and spreadsheets and, changes. Well, so yeah, I mean, I'm just here to learn more and, use some of my knowledge to help move things forward.
Well, I'm glad you're both with us. I've had an opportunity to talk with both of you. Of course, I interviewed both of you as well. And I'm very excited to have you both with us. I think you're gonna bring a lot to our little group here. And the community is better off for having you with us. So, all right, do we have any public comment or any comment from the CBOC on this?
There's no hands online.
Okay, let's go on to item G, the bond program project status and financial reports.
All right, welcome, everybody. Let me just scroll down to page 12 here. There we go. Thank you again for having us. My name is Ellen Mahia Hooper. These are the projects that we are currently working on with the bond program. And
Wait, can I interrupt real quick?
yeah.
Apologies. Do you have any of our board members signed in?
we do.
Can you share me with there?
Trustee Smith Folds and trustee Recker, or President Recker.
Thank you very much. And just for everybody else, Mr. Henderson, would you like to introduce yourself so people have some idea of who you are?
Sure. My name is Phil Henderson. I'm an attorney with Orbach, Cup and Henderson. We are legal counsel for the school district. And I was asked to come tonight to maybe help provide some background on delivery methods when we get there.
Welcome.
Great.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
Sorry not to interrupt again.
So, our design projects include Stige, Kennedy, Richmond, and Pinole Valley. For the top three, we are working on, either design development or construction documents as we are moving along. In the design project for some of our phases, these are all multi-phase projects. The initial phases for Kennedy, Richmond, and Stige are now all within the construction area as well as the design area, which is exciting. Richmond just got approval on August 6th to start construction. So on these projects, we have either a demolition or a utility phase where we're doing the initial utility work and demolition outside of the larger building projects to speed the process along as much as possible, allows us to finish up design or we're able to start construction at the same time. We're still in DSA, or the Division of State Architect Review, for Pinole Valley for the hillside restoration. And our other projects are Lake and Stige, or Shannon, sorry, Lake and Shannon, and we'll have a few slides on all of the construction projects. So for Lake Elementary School, the rebuild, we're gearing up to open a couple buildings. So that's our big push at the moment. So the kindergarten complex will be open for the first day of school. Furniture has been delivered. The whiteboards have been installed in front of the storage area, and the walk-off carpet has been completed, as well as final testing of the fire alarm and the other systems, so that we're ready to go and be able to welcome our students and staff. Staff is in there now, setting things up to put finishing touches on the classroom area. Outside in the playground space, we will have a playground ready. You can see the play structure kind of in the back here. This is a little turf play area. The planting is still going in as we speak. but we are rolling along with the exterior as well as the interior. This is just an overhead shot of the kindergarten playground. The main playground will still be under construction for a couple more months. We're pushing to try to get that done as soon as possible to allow the rest of the students a larger play area. But we will have the kindergarten area open for those students. And the other part that we've been looking at is outside of the cafeteria. We have our overhead dining space. Additional concrete has been poured since we were here last month, as well as the seat walls. Part of this plaza will be open to allow the circulation from the main campus over to where the kindergarten complex is. However, the multi-purpose room cafeteria space will still be closed at the beginning of school. We're finishing that space up and hope to open it probably in the October-November time period. Here's the interior of the cafeteria. So the light fixtures have now been installed. We have the roll-up doors are now installed and the fire sprinklers have been put in. So we're getting closer with this space, but we're not quite there in time for school start. For Shannon's cafeteria rebuild, we're in a similar place as the lake multipurpose room, looking at late fall for the opening. However, so we've got the roll-up doors in here as well. That's a new addition. The awning has gone on top of the roof structure. So before we were at the roof canopy, now we have the roofing material on top of it. And on the inside, the acoustical panels have been installed in the ceiling. Light fixtures have been installed. The duct work has been painted. The interior paint all around on the walls as well as the ceiling has been completed. Those are the formal slides.
Before you
Oh
get-
no, we still have Stage, right? So I forgot, we also have our design projects. Stage Elementary School rebuild, we have an upcoming community meeting. It is planned for September 16th at 6:30. It's going to be held again at Booker T. Anderson, which is where we've been holding all of our community meetings. So we're welcoming folks for our quarterly design and construction update. Please come out. As far as the activities on the campus, most of the portables have been removed. The multi-purpose room has been removed, and I forgot to share. Let me go to the live version of this presentation because we had a little video, which doesn't work very well in the PDF version. So let me pull this guy over here. And we will show you a little video of the demo.
While you're looking for that, just for the record, Giamma is attending by phone. She is the 714 area code.
And she's been here the whole time.
Yes, she has been here the whole time. We just didn't have a name attached to it. I wrote it down on the top of my pad, so I'll know it in the future.
So this is the multi-purpose room going down. We have obviously sped up portions of this for the viewing public. It doesn't move that fast in real life. But it's always fun to show a little bit of demolition going on. So that was the old cafeteria space.
Who doesn't like a good demolition?
Love this. Great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
Perfect. Exactly. People would love, my son would love watching this.
So at Kennedy, we've also been busy demolishing things. The 100, 200, and 500 building are completely removed at this point. And since one can't help but share more demo videos, here's the time lapse of the 100, 200 coming down.
I love this.
Well, quite obviously, you didn't go to school there, see,
Ah.
yeah, that's my house.
The progress in the reporting. My house is Pinole Valley. It got a new job, so.
So that was just some fun demolition videos. This is closer to what it looks like now. So where the 100 and 200 building were, is now gone. Right now we're working on the waterproofing and restuccoing the ends of the buildings. This was where the canopy for the second floor walkway interacted with the 300 and 400 buildings. So we need to finish those off because they didn't have an exterior edge before, and now obviously they do. This was the outside quad there. The 500 building is just off screen, but it looks the same as this. Oh, here it is. I forgot I added that in. So, this is the existing solar panel. And in this square back here is where the 500 building was. You can now, see the swim center behind where before a building blocked that view. For those that are not necessarily as familiar with the site, this is the gym back behind. So the K quad, now has no edge on one side, but soonish, will be under construction for what we're calling building B. And, that edge will be filled with an outdoor covered dining, that will connect into our new, dining cafeteria performing arts space.
If I can add real quick, the building that used to be sit right there was formerly part of Granada Junior High School, before we started calling it middle schools. What was strange is that school opened up in 1959, and then they tore pretty much the whole school down 6 or 7 years later. You know, not like we got 30, 40 years worth of use out of it. It just surprised me. I mean, I'm saying we needed the space for my high school. But there was also where the pool building was the 900 building, which had the language arts and math classes. And they promised us in 1968, oh, in a couple of years, we'll tear it down. Well, it only took about 35 years before they finally tore it down. I mean, between the Stige and Kennedy High School, I've taken about 6,000 photographs right now. Unfortunately, they don't let me up in the man lift where I get good aerial pictures on there. Mine are all from the ground elevation, so I'm envious.
You need a drone.
Except they're outlawed in Richmond.
Then we have yeah.
On the Kennedy building, just for my own knowledge, the buildings that were demolished, does that include the library? Like, what are those buildings?
So this right here is the edge of the library.
Oh,
So the
okay.
library is still here. And then if we go back one more slide, so this is the end of the library, which also has the staff lounge, and this side of it is the main library space. The next building down is the science building, and then this last building down here is the 800 building, which has music in the back and the current cafeteria in the front.
You see the kind of the reddish orange thing right in the middle of the dirt?
Mhm.
Okay, directly to the left of there, that was actually, right where you're looking, that was the grand staircase.
Right. That's the backflow that was underneath the grand
Okay.
staircase.
Yes,
So we protected it throughout demolition. Because it's our main water into the campus. And so the buildings that came down, the 100, 200 housed most of the general classrooms as well as the administration office areas. The 500 building had a special education classroom, an after-school space, a wellness center space, our IT academy, as well as an art classroom. So,
and directly behind that backflow preventer, you see another large building, that's the music drama building.
so back here in the far corner is that with the cafeteria in front of it. The 600 building is right here. It has the other CTE or career technical education classrooms. And this is that gym that we saw in the next slide. So here's the gym and the edge of the library.
Okay.
So you're kind of pivoting when you're
Yeah.
looking at these two images. All right, Richmond High School. So this month, we're very excited to be able to start the utility make ready package. One of the things that happens when you build new buildings on a site is that you have to make sure that the ground underneath those new buildings don't have a lot of utilities in them, because that will interfere with your foundation system. So unfortunately, the space that we're putting the new building is clear of buildings, so we don't have to demolish a building to start that construction, but is the main utility corridor into the campus. So our first project really is rerouting the utilities, and we needed to make new utility connections no matter what. We want new lines coming into new buildings. But it just happens to be the first thing we need to do on this particular project. Which isn't the most exciting thing in the world, because you don't get to see a lot of pretty pictures and there's no gigantic machinery, but it is vital for the construction project, obviously, because we depend and enjoy indoor plumbing, and, you know, internet and electricity. So these are all important for us to be able to reroute. So that is our first project. This rendering is inside the atrium of what will eventually be Building E, which is the first building we're building.
Okay, can you explain the lower left City of San Pablo site visit to review 23rd Street design implications and how this affects Richmond High? Because it's in Richmond.
Right. The interesting part about Richmond High School is that the border between San Pablo, the city of San Pablo, and Richmond City is right on 23rd Street. And most city borders normally land in the middle of the street, so that you end up with one city controlling one side and the other city controlling the other side. But that is not the case here. So the moment we get to the edge of the property, we flip between the two cities.
So that line, is that on the east side of 23rd or the west side of 23rd?
It's the east side.
Okay, it's our side.
It's our side. So that, like I said, it actually encroaches a little bit into our property. So it's a very interesting, depending on which portion of the property you're looking at. So it's an interesting situation, and it's kind of also interesting that it's called Richmond High and it's so close to the boundary of San Pablo.
So what's important about that city limit line on there? You've got three lighted crosswalks across 23rd Street that have not worked in 10, 12, 15 years. Okay, and I've been jumping all over the city manager of Richmond and all the appropriate department heads, when I should have been jumping all over the San Pablo people. Now that I will, and I will make sure they know that you sent me their way.
I'm sure that will really help strengthen our relationship with the Public Works.
All right, I'm just there to help.
But no, we did meet with the Public Works Department, because the one thing, our school sites are under the Division of State Architects. So unlike when you make changes to your house, you either go to the county or the city for plan review. And a lot of times that plan review also includes city planning. The planning department has design guidelines and other restrictions as far as setbacks and things. Those do not apply to our schools because we are under the Division of State Architect with the state. But the one place where we interact between a city and the school district property is at the curb cuts in the sidewalk. So when we make new or adjust the locations of our curb cuts, we need to coordinate with the city to be able to do that. The other thing that we coordinate with cities with our encroachment permits. Because when we are under construction, we affect the sidewalks. And as you've seen over at Kennedy, the sidewalk currently is blocked. We have an encroachment permit with the city to allow us to do that work. Which is common for every construction project. It's not unusual. But it is the two places that we interact the most with the city. We have had periodic conversations with the city throughout the design process just to keep them informed about how the design is moving along. But these are the important meetings to be able to work through those parts where we interact between the two. And obviously, we want the circulation to work as cleanly and as well as possible, as much as they do. Because the smoother our drop off and parking situation work, the better our families interact and the better role we play in the community. So trying to work with the traffic engineers and the traffic departments of the city is an important part of our design process. So that was one of the meetings that we had last week.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
I went to Richmond High, so I just wonder, where is the new building gonna be? Like, what part of the,
Let me see if I have a great.
okay, that's okay.
So what it's going to be is it basically wraps around the existing theater. So if you know the plaza where the Rock is.
Yeah.
That is basically where the building starts.
Okay.
And then it goes all the way down and around the theater, and then it curves back into the staff parking lot on the other side. So it's kind of an elongated view around the theater.
Sorry for interrupting your train of thought here. Just noting for people, Dr. Kim Moses, our Chief Business Officer, is also in on this. And any chance that you can elevate Gia to a panelist, so she's in the same column as the rest, if she raises her hand, make it easier for us to see.
I can't elevate a phone number.
Okay,
So you have to be a computer connection to do that.
good enough. Thank you.
Chair, we also have our superintendent here with us, also via phone. So not sure if we'll be able to promote her to panelist, but wanted to acknowledge that Superintendent Cotton is here with us.
I appreciate that. I'm not seeing her number.
Over you.
I'm not sure. She
I'm
must.
sorry. I just want to say thank you. Yes, I am. I'm a panelist now. Thank you. I'm just listening in.
Well, first off, welcome. You're not by
Thank
any
you.
chance using Dr. Moses's computer or anything, are you?
No, under panelists, it'll say,
No,
Cheryl.
good evening, Mr. Gosney. I'm listening in as well.
Good, 'cause I'm trying to decipher what I'm seeing here, but Melissa just says Cheryl's phone, so I got it now. Thank you.
Thanks.
Every time I think I'm a pretty smart guy, you guys show me how I'm not quite as smart as I thought.
Any other questions?
Real quickly, you mentioned the city of San Pablo site visit was with traffic and design, or that was the previous meeting. Does it also include the planning department?
So this one in particular was with Public Works, which is the
Okay.
traffic, the group that is in charge of traffic and street engineering. Because that was the topic of the conversation. We were looking at where our street or entry points to the different driveways were.
Got it, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on. I will exit out of this and go back to our PDF. So let me just scroll down. All right. As normal, we have our project status reports for the Kennedy Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Pause right there for 1 second.
Yes.
While we're looking at the project status reports, I just wanted to point out there's a question that we'll be going over later about the project team. And so one of the things that's great about this project status report is it gives you a summary of the projects. And so it identifies the schedule and it also identifies the project team. So the contractor, the architect, the construction management team. It also has there on the right-hand side, kind of a contract summary. It kind of gives you an idea of where the project is within that particular section. And so I just wanted to highlight that as a reference available in the packets that we'll produce monthly.
Very good information. Since I'm the one that's asking all this stuff.
Go ahead. Okay. And then we have Lake. which has similar information. And since we're talking about the design build versus lease stack a little later, you'll notice that the project team, as well as the structure of the financial information, will be a little different from one contract to the other due to which delivery method. And then we have Shannon Elementary School critical needs project for the new multi-purpose room or cafeteria. And so that also has our project team information, although I see that we did not include the architect, so I'll make sure that happens next month. Sorry about that. All right. We also have.
Before you go,
Yeah.
can you go back up a couple of pages?
Couple pages.
I'm looking up in the upper right-hand corner. See it? Anyone of those is fine. Shannon didn't have hardly anything, that's why. We're seeing the amounts for the contracts and everything, but who are the contracts with? That are being referred to there.
That's the contractor's agreement that's being referred to on the top right-hand corner.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And then we have our construction newsletters for Stage, which is a big portion of this, is announcing that community meeting, as well as a project update. We have Lake, which is really announcing the new entry and exit gates to make sure our families are ready for the first day of school, as well as the project update. And then we have Shannon.
Sorry, can you go back up to Lake for a second? The picture of, I mean,
The map?
yes, right there.
Yep.
I noticed last night, not late afternoon, but last night, where that little outcropping is on the far left corner, bottom,
This one?
left. Okay, there's a gate right there.
Yes.
Why is that gate open that time of night?
I do not know. I will make sure that our construction group, we've normally been very good about closing the construction gate.
Yeah, and I mean, if I hadn't been so busy, I would have gone in there and stolen your blind. I vandalized a few things. I shouldn't do that, say that, because it might happen tonight, but it was wide open.
Interesting.
Yeah, just letting you know.
Thank you. I will follow up on that.
A quick question for the Stage meeting. At this point, is it still, it's just updates? Are you still gathering input? Or is that phase over?
We are really to updates at this point. So one thing that we're gonna report out on is at the last meeting, we asked for feedback on the color schemes. So on this meeting, we're gonna show how that works out into the design. So that should be exciting. But we are at 50% construction documents. And really, once you're in construction documents, the things that they're drawing are how the building is actually constructed together. So they're drawing the details of what's inside the wall and how are we putting together our waterproofing. So it's really at the place where there's not design, then that's why you switch from schematic design development, then you change to construction documents. At that line, it really stops being such a design focused process and really down to drawing how the building itself gets put together. So there's less opportunities for input during the construction document side. It's when we do more of our meetings with our M&O staff though. Because that's the part that they're more concerned about, right? What materials are we specifying and how the building's layers are coming together. So we spend more time with our M&O staff during this phase and less time with the community. All right, so let's do a page down here and we are to the financial reports.
So one of the things I just wanted to uplift quickly is the newsletters are really hard to read in printed form. And that's just always going to be the case. But one of the things that's really great about the platform that we use to create these newsletters is it provides for translation. And so as CBOC members, you should all be receiving these newsletters via email. Let us know if you're not. And these newsletters are available for anyone that would like to have them. And so it's a really simple form to sign up for the newsletters. So if you know people that are interested in learning more about the projects, they can sign up for a particular project, or they can sign up for every project, and then they'll be part of the monthly distribution. And when they receive it electronically, then they can always hit that translate button, which really makes the information more accessible. And so it will always look a little funny in our presentation and in our packet. That's how the application is designed. It's really meant more for the electronic form, but if you know anyone who's interested, please let us know or let them know, so that we can continue to share the updates more broadly.
It's funny you should bring that up, because just yesterday when I was speaking with Ms. Cronenberg, she was saying she's getting some of the newsletters, but not all of them. And perhaps you can go on record and tell her, how does she get the rest?
Well, by mentioning it to us, we can just make that update. But when you sign up for the newsletters on the form, you can pick a particular project or you can say all. And so now that we know that she would like to receive all of them, we can just make that update internally to make sure that she receives all of
Okay,
them.
see, Madeline, I'm taking care of you here, but, if for anybody else that is not Madeline, where do they go for that form?
So, it's linked here in our packet. It's available. It is on the website, and typically in all of
Okay.
the community and board presentations that we do, we usually put the link to it as well, so that as people want to join. The other thing is if, one of the things we want to kind of uplift is you can always send an email to askfacilities@wccusd.net. And from there, we can help with a variety of things, including signing people up. Also at community meetings, we'll have a laptop there. So if anybody just wants to sign up while they're there, they can just walk over, confirm their information, and then we're happy to assist with filling out the form.
Also, may take a notice, take a break, look at the very last, part of the regular agenda, not the agenda packet, but the agenda. We put that, URL and the phone number on, so that if anybody wants to contact the facilities department, they now have information. I had to ask for that myself. I've only been with them now since 1998 and was unaware. But Melissa she always takes care of it. But that's included on there.
So one other thing to clarify about all the newsletters versus some of the newsletters, we do monthly newsletters for our construction projects that are actively in construction. However, for the projects that are yet to be in construction, we do periodic information when there's something to report out. We do have these stretches of time, like construction documents, which rolls into the state architect's review, that there's really just nothing to report, right? When the drawings are in the state architect's hands, there's really no movement on it in the project world. So that we're not always consistent on the design side of having monthly newsletters. So I just wanted to clarify that as well.
Thank you.
And just a clarification, is ask facilities at WCCC or is it facilities at WCCC?
So it's ask
Okay,
facilities at wccusd.net.
okay,
See, if you look at the bottom of page 11.
yeah. Making sure, because I heard facilities at WCCC.
No, not.
All right.
So now jumping to page 44 in your packet, we have our preliminary financial reports for the month of July. So we are still in our closing process. And so these reports will still be preliminary until the books are closed. Once the books are closed, all the numbers are final. So I'll present a little bit less this meeting just because I went into a greater detail at the last meeting, but always willing to walk through these reports with you. So
Sorry, Melissa, when will they be finalized?
once the books are
But
closed.
do we have a ballpark? Is it
So
tomorrow or
I would
next year?
assume that it would be sometime in September.
Oh,
And
okay.
so we're talking about all of the district's financials, and there's an overall closing process for that. So every day, the business services team is working, very diligently on, dotting all the i's and crossing all the t's, and then they will officially close the books. And that's when all of those records become final.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the date should be September 25th, correct? Is that?
So that might be a particular date for a particular type of reporting, but I know generally it happens in the month of September.
Okay.
Yes. And so, you'll notice on our June report, it said preliminary, and then this is also preliminary for fiscal year 2025. This report itself, is projecting all the way to June of 2029. So when you're looking at project accounting, you're always looking across a number of years, a lot of times previous and forward. So when we look at this overall report, this is essentially your agenda and the notes numbers located along the right-hand column that have the numbers 1 through 4. There's more detailed notes behind them that provide the backup documentation that supports those notes. And so we can see here by looking at this that our projected cash balance in June of 2029 is about 5.5 million. And then as we turn to the next page, we can look at some of the details. So for note 1, our adjusted cash balance is made up of a couple of things, and there's some details here associated with retention. When we look at note 2, we're looking at our projected revenues, which for the CBOC, it's our bond program. So in Measure R, we have a remaining issuance of 250 million, which is currently anticipated for fiscal year 26-27. And so you see that reflected here. Some of the other earnings that we see reflected here, interest earnings and others. And so that's the summary that we see there. Note 3 is a link between this report and another financial report that we'll be looking at in just a second, which is report 2. And so it connects our overall board approved budgets and expenses. Turning to the next page on note 4, we aggressively apply to different types of grant opportunities to leverage state dollars to bring them here to West Contra Costa and make our local dollars go even further. To date, through the state facility program, we've received about 227 million. We are currently standing in line for a projected 16.7 million in additional grant funds. And we are within the funding authority of Prop 2. These numbers will change. Essentially, everyone's submitting to the state. And so once you have a DSA approved set of drawings, you can submit your application. And then it's based on the order received, and the state continues to work through what they call a workload list, which is available on their website. And so this information doesn't update very often, just more when we get additional information. Note 5 is a summary of our 2016 facilities master plan approved by our board, which outlined the projects, the sites, and the budget amounts. So we can see in the column there, FMP 2016, that identifies the original amount totaling 181.8. And so that was the original facilities master plan in 2016. As those budget increases and decreases have been approved by the board since October of 2016, those changes are reflected here. And so we can see currently the implementation of the 2016 facilities master plan is at 241.5 million. Next page. Separately from that, and you can see here at the top of the sheet, we keep that written record for you so you can go back and track any of those changes that the board has made, going back now almost 10 years. All of that detail is provided there. And then separately, we have note 6, which is a summary of Measure R. So the 2016 facilities master plan was Measure D and E, and it was also some state dollars. And then Measure R, we know, is Measure R of 2020. And so we see there the budgets approved by the board. Next page. And so that's kind of the overall report 13. So if we take all of those notes and we bundle them together, we get back to that first page of report 13, which gives us kind of those big blocks when we're looking at a multi-year cash flow. And so because they're such big numbers and they're reflected across such a long period of time, what we do is this monthly variance report. And so that's what you see here. And so as you look along the left-hand side, all of those reflect back to that original cover sheet page. And so part of what it identifies for you when it says beginning balance is it's essentially reflecting what we presented last month to the CBOC. And so you'll be able to see what is the variance. So essentially what has changed since the last time that we met. And that really identifies the actions that have taken place to kind of give a front row seat to the oversight of those funds. And so when we look at the actions taken over the last month, we can see that we had June accruals and expenditures at 6.6, almost 6.7 million. And we expended about 300,000 in July. And so you can then see how those changes take place. And so one of the things that we will be producing for the CBOC, once we close the books and we put fiscal year 2025 to a close, we're going to produce this variance report for you, and it's going to be an annual variance report. And so what that'll do is it'll take everything that happened specifically with the bond fund from July 1st to June 30 in our fiscal year, and it'll give you that variance so that you'll have this variance annual. And then here at this meeting, we'll present the monthly change.
So we're gonna have both.
Yes,
Okay.
once the books close, so
Okay.
that'll probably be in September. Once the books close and they're final, then we'll produce this and you'll have it on a fiscal year basis.
Cool.
And so this is a really good cheat sheet and kind of just gives you an idea of the major actions. So one of the reports that was identified, I believe it's in note 3, is it talked about report 2. And so I'll be honest, I think of report 2 as Dawn's report. There was this desire to take the entire bond program, more than 25 years, and put it on a single sheet of paper. So we cheated and we used the front and the back so we could fit it on a single sheet of paper. But this essentially reflects the entire program by site. And so when you look at this report, it's reflecting going all the way back. But when we're looking at some of the current active projects, we can look and see across the columns and understand the amount that we've expended in previous fiscal years, the amount that we've expended in the current fiscal year. So if we look at that column where it says expended, you can see fiscal year 99 to 01 through the previous closed fiscal year that ended in June 30 of 2024. The next column gives us that snapshot of our past fiscal year, but it's still an active one. And so that's July to June of fiscal year 25. And then specifically, we have this extra column that identifies what we've expended in July because we're kind of living in both fiscal years at this time. But then our next column gives us that expenditure total. So we understand the dollars spent for each one of those sites, which essentially leaves us with 2 items remaining. So we have our budget that's been approved by our board. We know how much we've spent. And so the next column is essentially what's committed. And when we use the word committed, we mean it's under contract or it's in an existing purchase order, meaning these dollars have been assigned to a vendor and they're committed for those purposes across the fiscal years. And so what that leaves us with is a budget balance. So the dollars in the budget that have not been spent or committed to a vendor, and that's essentially our budget balance. Our last column gives us our notes, and it kind of gives us an idea of where that site is in terms of active projects. Are they in closeout? Are they active and current? And then at the bottom of the report, we do have a footnote because going back to the 1998 Measure E, we have that information here in a footnote and it's not reflected in the table above. And so this is our kind of financial report on a single sheet of paper across the program, our report 2. And these figures in the grand total column that we see there at the bottom in green, those figures are on the cover sheet of report 13. So when we're looking at board approved budget, when we're looking at expenditures, this report connects to report 13. And so as we kind of moved from like up in the sky and we're getting lower and lower, and now we're gonna totally go into the weeds and we're gonna tell you about every dollar that we've spent. And that's what we call our AP checklist. And so this is sorted by site, and it gives you really that granular detail of who is the vendor, what is their check number, what was the check date. We give a short account, and there's a little legend at the bottom that lets you know which bond measure or which bond resource has funded that item. And then we've got the invoice number, the invoice date, the amount, and a description. And so this really lets you know if you want to know how every dollar of the bond fund is spent. This will give you that detail on that monthly basis. There are some things that don't show up in what we would say is like a traditional vendor warrant or a vendor check. And those are also summarized here below for you. So for construction services, we hold a retention. So we pay the contractor 95%, we hold 5%. And we can do that in one of two ways. Either it's in a district held account or it's in a third-party escrow account, which is held by a bank. And so we can see there different retentions. There's also the payroll. So in accordance with Attorney General's opinion, some staff costs, so that would be like myself or Ellen or like a project team member, if it is directly supporting the project, can be charged to the bond fund. And so we have a payroll expense. And then we do timesheets, which reflect our actual, and that reconciliation will also be reported so that the amount charged to the bond is directly tied to projects. And then below that, we have a couple of journals that we can see here. And so there were some eligible expenses that were moved to other funding sources for some of our bond projects. So a lot of our projects are bond funded, and they also have other funding. And so a good example is at Lake Elementary, where we've opened up our kinder and our TK spaces. We can use developer fees, and this is part of our strategy to make sure our bond dollars go further. And then we also have a refund check that was received from S&P Global, and so that's also been put back in the account. You can see here at the bottom, that is the summary of resource. So in our account code structure, the first two numbers give you the fund. So Fund 21 is our bond fund. The next four digits give you the resource. And so for us in the bond program, the resource identifies which bond measure. And then if we have other bond related revenues that are earned from interest or from the state, that's recorded in resource 9790. So then as you kind of look across the different expenditures of the bond program, you can understand directly how those are tied to different measures. And so I do believe that that brings me to the end of the financial reports presentation for this month.
Do you have any questions or comments from the CBOC?
I have a quick question. On page 46, you have note 5, Lake, for facilities master plan. There's a $0 signs assigned to it, but the current budget is about 147. Does that mean that initially there were $0 assigned to it, and then we decided we were gonna shift funds towards that?
It's an excellent question. And so if you'll look on the line right below it, see how the original budget for Lake Elementary School was 66.1 million, and then you see the revised budget at 65.6. What happened was when the board approved the budget for Lake, there were some portables on the site that were not being used. And when you have structures that aren't being used, it can encourage, right, theft, damage, vandalism to the site. And so what the board did was they said, okay, if we're not using those portables and we don't need them, let's go ahead and demolish those portables ahead of the project. So what the board approved was that 500,000 that you see in that reduction from 66.1 to 65.6, that was moved into kind of a sub project for Lake. So you see a 0 there because we don't want to double count the budget. The total budget was 66.1. So that 500,000 moved into a sub-project for the demolition of the portables, but the cost for the demolition and the removal was only 147,501. So what we do is when we complete a project, if we didn't use all of the budget, which we shouldn't, we should always have more budget than we're able to spend. Then what happens is the board then approves the closeout of that. And so the final budget becomes the amount actually spent when it's done. So excellent question. That's the kind of backstory on that one.
And fun fact, that the space that was where the demolition of those portables went, that's where we built phase one. So it really opened up the opportunity, similar to what we're doing at Kennedy and Richmond, to allow us to expedite the construction project because the demolition was done before we needed that space.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the CBOC? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question. So on the first page of the financial reports with the projected cash balance.
What page?
Page 44.
Thank you.
With a projected cash balance for June 2029. For all kind of final projected cash balances, what happens to that remaining? So like what theoretically would happen to that 5.5? Does it go back into, or does it stay within that fund? Does it go released?
So Fund 21 is a restricted fund where dollars in Fund 21 will kind of always stay in Fund 21. So if there are available dollars, ultimately the board can use those dollars to increase a project budget. They can create a new project to assign those dollars. The thing that's hard when you're looking across so many fiscal years is there's so much that can happen that we can't predict. And we've seen just in this last year, so much volatility with uncertainty in the markets, and tariffs are on, tariffs are off. And so as we look at those dollars and as we get closer to that date, ultimately that's something that the board can make a determination on how they would like to assign those dollars to a project. And so as we kind of are forward looking, we know that we're going to be finishing up Lake this calendar year, and Shannon's going to be coming to a close. And so as we get to the end of those projects and we have project savings, we'll go to the board with those savings. And ultimately, anytime we increase or decrease a project budget, it must be approved by the board.
But it'll stay within that Fund 21 bucket.
I really love and appreciate how the feedback regarding posting and videos and outreach was taken very seriously. I really love your mashups. Is there a way that the public can go and download those videos and repost them, things of that sort?
I'm trying to get better at my social media. Unfortunately, I think I was part of the wrong generation, but I'm working on it. So we did post some videos on Facebook. I haven't quite figured out the video part on Instagram yet. So if you're looking for a video, go to our Facebook. Our handle for facilities is WCCUSD Facilities. So if I do have a Facebook and an Instagram account for facilities, and I am trying to be better about posting. We do have a challenge as far as videos go because you know, obviously in the PowerPoint presentations, they get PDF'd and then they just get flattened, right? So that right now is our best way of doing the videos. As our website gets settled down and we have a better way of posting more things on there, we'll continue to add videos to the website as well.
That looks great.
Can I suggest? I mean, pulling videos off of Facebook is not as easy as you would hope it would be. If you've got the right tools, you can do it, but most people don't have the right tools. Can you take those very same videos and, for instance, put them on Google Drive and then provide a link? And if you provide me the link, I'll put it in the agenda packet.
Yeah, I'll continue to work with our communications department. We might be able to do them on the district YouTube account.
That works
well.
too.
I
mean,
People can screen record, screenshot, whatever they'd like to do, but just are they gonna be posted publicly for everyone to see? Because I feel like that's great for people to see firsthand, especially those who have been waiting for Stage for so very long. People that are, alumni of Kennedy, they're very anxious and excited about that. And then just seeing it firsthand, like even the reaction from Dawn was kind of like, emotional.
I mean, I post my videos and my pictures on numerous Facebook sites for the Kennedy alums all over the country. I know they're interested in because they replied back on there.
No, they are. Kennedy
Yeah.
goes hard for their crew,
Yeah,
okay?
and so I mean, having those links, I mean, if you.
Sounded like Richmond High too.
Yeah, we had something in Richmond High, yes, but if,
My Facebook following, so if somehow our little facilities handle gets out into the world, that would be awesome. Because I did much better on Instagram than I did on Facebook, as far as the number of people that are following us. So although you'd be surprised how far and wide our s'mores are getting. We did reach 10,000 views on one of our old s'mores. So
what's a s'more? I get hungry when you say it.
oh, it's the electronic newsletter.
Mhm.
Oh, all right,
That's the application that we use.
Okay, thank
When Melissa was talking about what, that we use the digital format
Yeah.
application, s'more is the name of it.
okay.
So the construction newsletters, they also have a lovely tracking tool that allows us to see, how our newsletters are doing and how many people see them. So it was exciting when I got my badge for having 10,000 views on a particular newsletter. So that was a monumental occasion.
Yeah,
Well, and if I can just add really quickly, I really appreciate your kind words, but I want to thank you for bringing that forward and to our attention. I think we've been able to do some incredible things here because we want to be really responsive to the feedback. And you guys, see and have different ideas and different things. So I want to thank you for uplifting it. And so we're excited to kind of continue to find different ways to tell the story and share the news.
Let me know if you need help with a reel.
Yeah, that's my next step. But we do put videos on the s'more application as well. So the newsletters are able to have videos also.
Super cool. I
which is-
bet even kids, like high
Which
school
is
kids would start watching. Because, it's just real cool to look at, and it's bringing attention and they tell their parents and, people are getting updates, so, in their language.
I want to piggyback on something Melissa said about getting input, from Tatiana, for instance. I've tried to listen to everything you've been saying, as staff as well. Ellen made a suggestion on the cover page of the agenda, put the start time. Okay, fine. Okay, well, next time it'll have that on there. You're putting the contact information at the end, just like I mentioned before. We added that on there. The Spanish language things on our minutes, you have the YouTube link for the English version, and now you have it for the Spanish version right up top. But we're listening to what people want and doing as best as we can to try to accommodate them as much as we can. But we need help because none of us can think of everything. So, yeah, you got suggestions, bring it up and we'll see what we can do. Thank you. Did you have anything more? Okay, any other comments on the?
I have a
Go
quick
ahead.
question, hopefully it's quick. Page 51, where you mentioned that, staff time can also be charged to the, bond measures, and there's a community meeting for Stage coming up. Will the architects be there or is there external? Okay, and that I'm assuming is part of the contract that's listed on page 51 that says contract goes through September. Can't tell you line item, but it's site 157 under the Stage project.
Can you tell me the vendor?
Patroki Walk Architects?
So they did the original master planning for Stage before, and they did the bridging documents for the well, yeah, they did the original master planning for the Stage procurement for design build. So, but to that end, when you see Alton Construction there, so for Stage, we have a design builder, Alton Construction, and the architect is Perkins Eastman. And at all of the community meetings, we have had representatives from the contractor, the architect, and that's been really great because it's fun to kind of hear it from all the different perspectives. So I know, I believe they're planning to be at the September meeting too, that we have coming up. And so it's a really great opportunity, you know, you hear from us all the time, but at the community meeting, they're there as well.
Quick suggestion for that meeting, can there be an agenda, like just here's what you can expect? Because at the last speech meeting, I just heard some disappointment from community members where it was like, oh, we just went to pick a color, or we
Yeah.
went to pick this thing, and that could have been done in a different format. And so I'm also thinking about, the quality of time where we invite people to come in, and also what we're expensing in terms of the dollars that we have here for the contracts. So it's, what I'm saying is, it's amazing, but I think it's helpful to also have an agenda, so community understands, here's what we're gonna talk about, and there isn't disappointment when people walk into a meeting and see.
I agree with that.
I mean, I have to say that when I found out, once I got there, I found out where all we're talking about is what color to put on this wall. I said, really? That's it? And I said, I was looking for other things, so that would have been helpful.
It's like going to a board meeting and your questions don't get answered. It's like you were anticipating that, you were hoping that your input and your feedback would be appreciated.
So we usually put the agenda in the PowerPoint, but for the community meeting, I'm thinking, and we can partner on this, maybe if we're sharing it out early, so people just kind of have an idea. The other thing that we'll be doing, I mean, part of what we're trying to do is just be in a lot of different places and spaces. And so sometimes the things that will happen at like back to school night is in September, and then in October for the high school. So we'll be at back to school night, we'll be at the community meeting. And then we also bring a lot of that same information to our board updates as well. And so part of our strategy is sometimes it's duplicative information, but different people come to different venues and different events to get the information. And we think sometimes by doing like a multi-tiered approach to getting the information out, it reaches more people. But definitely we'll come up with a way that we can try to share that in it.
Yeah, since the flyer gets broadly shared, I think just 3 bullet points. At this meeting, we're gonna do X, Y, Z, and that's really helpful. It doesn't have to have like time and this is what we're gonna do, but just like the flyer can have the outcomes of the meeting.
And then people can decide if they want to come or not based on that information. I agree with that.
And Lynn made a comment, that's good. I agree with creating the agenda.
All right,
So Lynn Johnson on Zoom.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the CBOC, including it, Lynn and John? Anything? Do we have anything from the public?
See no hands at this time.
Okay, before we move on to the rest of the meeting stuff, because we have some new people here, I want to, can you put up, page 7, please? I'm gonna be mentioning colors, so which doesn't do any good on a black and white version. We have new people here that they may not understand the value of the project management plan and the reporting portal. We had a great presentation a few months back. I will pull the video clip from that and share it with all of our newer people. I'll check to share it with everybody just as a refresher. But in 20 seconds or left, Melissa, do you want to explain about both of you what these are?
Absolutely, thank you. 20 seconds is hard for me, you guys know that about me.
You just use 8.
I know. So, the project management plan is basically a summary. It has a lot of information about our program, the administration, the reports, the meetings, the resources, and it's a searchable item that's available online. The reporting portal is a way of trying to bring our financial reports and make them available to everyone via the website at any time. And as we dive into some discussions later tonight, I didn't have enough time to put it together, but I'm hoping maybe at a future meeting, I could go back and answer some of the questions and tie them into these resources so I could really highlight how you can interact with these resources to get the answers to different kinds of questions that you might have as we're going through some of the stuff, which can be super technical.
Thank you. These are so important. That yellow box has got a permanent spot on our agenda packet. Okay, and by the way, project management plan, you'll also hear it referred to as a PMP. Okay, very quickly, we have a limited amount of time left. If nobody has any problem, because we've got our attorney here and he's gonna be addressing things on item S, I wanna swap item S and item R, so maybe he can get home 10 minutes faster than the rest of us. That's okay with everybody? Okay, there's a good chance that I may have to defer some things to a future meeting date. At our last meeting, we were not able to get our financial reports in time to put them in the agenda packet. We did not get them at all for the June meeting, but they were handed out to us and we were presented at the last meeting. Okay, I included copies of those in the minutes for our last meeting. It's important that people have copies of those things. But that's one of the reasons the packet is a little bit thicker than normal, because that was an extra 12, 15 pages right there or more. Also, for the people that are not used to our agenda packets, again, don't look at the printed version, look at the electronic version that every item that's in the agenda items is a hot link. So if you want to pull out report number 2 specifically, you don't have to delete all the pages before it and after it, just pull that, just click on that. You'll have just, report number 2. Okay. But it's trying to make these as user-friendly as possible on here. Okay, and again, because we've got limited amount of time, we've got some consent calendar items on here. I'm just gonna mention them very briefly. If you want to talk about them at all, just tell me, okay? The information request log, we have not had anything added to it since September, so I don't even bother to waste paper by putting it in there. The meeting calendar is as up to date as I think we can.
Question on that. For September, are we still planning 2 meetings or just the joint?
No, two meetings.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify so we would be prepared.
Would you mind if we kind of, since we're moving to S, can we kind of intertwine?
We're not moving it there yet.
Oh, okay, I thought we were jumping.
No. We're gonna swap those two when it comes there, but we are still on item J.
Okay.
Okay. All right, the rolling attendance log. It just shows who's been showing up and the attendance on there. The meeting minutes, for our last meeting. Okay, and we had 2 CBOC standing reports. When I give the reports at the board meetings, they allot me 5 minutes everybody on the standing reports 5 minutes. But I put a copy of it in our minutes as well, so you'll have a chance to see what I actually put on there. Okay, are there any questions or comments? If there isn't, we will accept them as presented. Is there any comments from the public?
Not at this time.
Okay, then we will accept these, which is good. That means we've got our minutes, we are up to date on them as far as accepting them. I need to swap over the draft version to the final and so they get put on our website. Okay, we are now on item M, committee reports, which is our annual reports. I told Tatiana, we just turn things over to her and keeping in mind, keep an eye on that clock, because we got some very time sensitive. Time is gonna take us a fair amount of time. So go ahead and tell us anything you want us to know about the annual report.
Okay, so I've been talking to Dawn and just kind of going back and forth about the annual reports for several months now, probably most of the year. I think that we kind of get stuck in between who's getting things late and what we're doing with it once we get it. And we didn't have a bunch of members within our CBOC to help with the bulk of the work. So now that we have 10 members on our CBOC now, I think that just assigning different topics to members instead of saying, okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? No, you'll just receive it via email, what your contribution will be. And then that's how we'll go forward with it. Because I feel like as we keep doing this, there isn't everyone here for us to decide. The people that are on Zoom, they can hear us now as well. They'll be receiving their topic as well. I calculated and I kind of condensed some of the topics that would go into our annual report. And there are 17 items. And that'll be roughly 2 apiece. And most of the photos and putting it together, what I'm hoping would happen is once we put our portion together, we send it to Don and he organizes it as the report is supposed to be organized. And that's when the appendix would be done, the glossary would be done, because you can't really do those things until it's complete either way. And I'm making sure that the photos are gonna be going to Don because he's a great photographer and he's very particular about how he likes his pictures. So the photos will be his responsibility. Tania, I really just, because it says profile, member profile as well, is going into this annual report, correct? Don?
That's up to you guys. This is something for the body.
I'm kind of looking at the notes from April that you provided us
Uh-huh.
in our agenda packet. So these are things that you wrote that you wanted and that we should have voted to be in the report.
Those were items that were in previous annual reports.
Okay, so do we want, okay, so if we're going to move forward with member profiles, we each can do our own individual profiles. And people that are just coming in, like, yeah, I think Dulce can handle, because she's been to a couple of meetings now, you can handle a couple of topics.
Sure, assign
Gemma.
away, assign away.
Yes, yes. And I'll.
Careful there.
I was gonna suggest that you assign heavy load to the people that aren't here tonight to defend themselves.
I feel like they typically are though, but I just, and that's why I just kind of want us to assign topics to people so that we can just make it fair all across the board and we can get it done. We should have this done by our joint CBOC and board meeting in September. If everybody is taking on 1 to 2 topics, passing them to Dawn, we're having 2 meetings in September. The first one, we can just check in, see where we are, see if everyone submitted their material to Dawn. And then by the other board meeting, it'll be on you, Dawn, to have it out for the Board of Education, correct?
If you want, I can do that.
I think that would
Yeah.
just be to facilitate rather than take votes and ask and things like that. We've been doing that for months now. We all know that it's due. We all know that we've struggled with quorum. We know that we've all struggled with numbers of the CBOC. We've struggled with them getting their information in a timely manner and giving it to us in a timely fashion. So I think that this is just the best way to do it. So then we all have our homework cut out for us. Okay. All right, so I've already actually done this, so I will email it to you tonight and you can go over it and then forward the email to everyone else.
I appreciate that.
Perfect.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's all I have for right now.
Anybody have any questions or comments on the annual report?
No, but thank you.
I want to say, appreciate you taking
Yeah.
that on. I know it's a
Tell-
big-
tell-
It is, it's a lot more work than people imagine. Do we have anything from the outside world?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay. All right, we're on to item N, site visits. I'm going to request again, if possible, if it's just for me, be able to take a look at Richmond High School before the students get there. It's we got a week.
So the first week of school is coming up very quickly.
Tuesday of next week. The purpose is, and for my purposes especially, I want to be able to document the current status of it. Because people are asking, why are we spending all this money on Kennedy High School, on Richmond High School? Of course, now Kennedy, it's a no-brainer. Kind of missing some buildings. Got to put those back in. But anything we can do for that, for Richmond High School, I would appreciate. Later on, perhaps we can get a revisit for Shannon, take a look at the MRP or NPR. Oh, boy, thank you. We never had those. We had cafeterias. Old school. And I don't know if we want to do anything with Lake to see the current status, especially the cafeteria, for instance. But there's nothing really to see at Kennedy High School or Steve's that we can see, that you can't see already from just walking by and outside the gate where I have to be. But
I
What
was,
I would say is that, we have been full focus to get our schools open, and the, phase of Richmond that's awarded doesn't involve demo. And so we're doing the underground work, and so while I know that this is something that, is a desire to do, I think that we could find a time to do that in the future. Because we've got to make sure that we're ready for the first day of school, and we've got a week to go. And we just, right now, our full focus is on our students and our staff and making sure they're ready. And it's a very large site. And so I think maybe we can work together to find a better time to do it.
Yeah, we need to work together on it though, because I don't want to be like some of the other schools where we're visiting it after the fact on there. And this is not something that just came up tonight. I mean, I brought it up numerous times and, okay, but I mean, we'll get it worked out. Okay? Anything, any questions or comments? Anything from home?
Nope.
Okay, we go on to a quick update on item O, the Zoom recordings. Okay, in particular, we were talking about Spanish language versions of it. I promised Ellen at the last meeting, I said, I can take care of putting the Spanish audio on top of the English video. I said, it's just pressing a button. Well, I was mistaken. It actually takes 2 buttons. It's incredibly easy peasy for me to do. I did reach out to the district to see about adding another column on our website. So we have the YouTube links for the English version and the links for the Spanish version. They say they cannot do that with the current system that they have. It's just not possible. Okay, but when they have the transition to the new one, they will make every effort to make sure we've got that on there as well. I think it's a great opportunity for us to show the community that we are reaching out to everybody in the district. So if they want to be involved with the bond program, they will have that opportunity. I mean, I think it's great. And as I mentioned before, on our minutes, I've got the link right up there at the top. I've got the link to the English version. I got right below it the link to the Spanish version. So it's available for people. I can't do that in advance for the agenda packet because we haven't got don't have the video yet. Okay, any questions or comments on this? Anything? Nothing from the public, right? This one is critically important. I want to make sure we get it done. We have to get it done tonight. The potential agenda topics for the joint meeting in September. Was that the 17th?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. Okay, I've got 3 items, I think 3 or 4 items on there. A better direct communication between the district, the community, and the media. We keep bringing up communication, but we need to control the narrative on what we think is important when we have the joint meeting on here. Because we need to have, about our bond projects, the community is not being as involved and informed as they would like to be. So we need to figure out what can we do, what needs to be done. All right, very important to me, the scope of the bond program performance audit. It was downscoped tremendously a few years ago to cut costs. But also, I mean, we can't even ask questions of the performance auditors. We cannot allow to even contact the performance auditors. That's in their contract. We can't do that. So I want to talk up to them so that this board knows what do we want to see in the performance audit. And also, we're gonna have a presentation in a few minutes about 2005 Measure J bonds. It's a neighborhood of $77 million. That's an elementary school. I can guarantee you the good people up in the Hilltop Fairmead who's thought that they were gonna get their elementary school rebuilt until it was pushed from number 2 down to number 4. They're interested in this kind of thing, but we'll get information tonight. We'll be able to discuss it with the board at a joint meeting. What will it take to make those funds available for sale and use for a new school? We're not talking about today or tomorrow, but we're talking about in a couple of years, possibly. Okay, I also, not for the topics there, but I will solicit from our other CBOC members topics they think are important. But I need to know from you. Do you have anything that you want? Yeah, doesn't mean tonight we're going to decide everything. I'm about 3.5 or 4 weeks before we have to set the agenda for that. So I will keep soliciting the topics from you, but do you have anything else that you guys think were important?
I agree with the communication or miscommunication, lack of communication throughout the district. With the public, the CBOC, whether it's more personnel needed, whether it's a medium committee needed to communicate to the various departments or people. And I actually have an example, just the communication that we spoke of at our last meeting, at the end of the meeting, the request. By the time it got to whoever it was supposed to get to, they were calling the other board and the communication had got completely misconstrued and just turned into violations of confidentiality and all these different things. And I'm like, wait, but that it was very clear communication, that authorization would be granted and, so just by the time either there's no communication, there's no response, or by the time it reaches the person it's supposed to get to, it's been all chopped and screwed and turned into different things, so communication within our district is very, very, very bad. I understand that we're all volunteers, for the CBOC and various boards and committees, but the constant emphasis being put on that when by different trustees and Board of Education members, I feel like is, that should be discussed because annual reports and things like that, they take time from our families, just like jobs take time away from yours and and somebody has to fill these positions. So just talking about or revamping the respect and the expectations of everyone, and I think
Okay, good. Anything else here?
Two. I think this aligns with Tatiana's, outreach and engagement is one. And the second one, this might be ongoing, but just, I'm not sure if there's a policy on or a flow chart there is a flow chart, but just more of a policy around the visioning process where we, meaning, I know we use bond dollars to hire construction companies, architects, etc. And so I see a through line between like the community engagement meetings, the bond dollars that go to different vendors and contractors. And so I'm just wondering if we can review that policy and see, or if there is one. I'm not even sure if there is one, but I think that's another topic.
Okay. I will get more information from you on that
Okay,
offline here.
okay.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, and you have the historical knowledge too,
Yeah,
probably.
Anything else?
I just second, I mean, maybe after tonight's discussion on the Measure J, but yeah, definitely second that as well as how that could maybe apply to our current Measure R, or like what any lessons learned from this discussion on Measure J, that kind of looking forward about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Something to keep in mind, and I emailed you all a copy of the ballot language for Measure J. I got that this afternoon. My good friend Helen Nolan with the Elections Department, she takes care of me because that's not available online. But the district is restricted to what it says in that ballot measure about where the money can go. Some of it's a $400 million ballot measure, and there's maybe only $77 million left. A lot of it's already been spent, obviously, but we can't kind of merge it in with Measure R.
No, I mean, like, if there were 77 left over from Measure J, looking forward to Measure R, is there gonna be 77 left for Measure R? And if so, how do we,
See, you're laughing over there?
well, no, like along my lines of my question earlier about what that leftover money, what does that go towards, And so is that, and again, we'll get to this, but is that 77 that could have been spent before?
There's a reason why it couldn't be spent, and we'll get to that in there.
Yeah.
All right,
let's do that.
yeah, something I want to remind everybody of, at the joint meeting, we are severely restricted about how many agenda topics there will be for the meeting itself. And we're talking 3, maybe 4, no more than 5. And then the board will have their own items on there. It's supposed to be a give and take and a balance on there. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. that will balance. And something I'm gonna push for this time around in particular, that this will be a joint meeting of the board and the CBOC. I do not want it to be a staff-driven a meeting where all we're doing is sitting there listening to presentations. We need to be able to have discussions. That has always been the value of the joint meeting. We don't have it to get up there and fill out a speaker slip like we do at the board meetings. We ask a question, they can actually answer it. We're not staring at a countdown clock on there. It's supposed to be a discussion session on there. But I will push for that, but it's still a joint meeting. Theoretically, we are equals with the board. Okay, it's not the board deciding what we're gonna talk about. It's supposed to be the two of us on there. So, but anyway, I will get back to you all with some of these things, and we'll solicit more things from some of the people that weren't able to join us tonight.
Don, I've got one more I want to ask.
Please, good.
I'm just thinking out loud here, something like, tracking and, implementation of lessons learned generally throughout the course of, many projects.
No, you'd hope somebody pay attention. Yeah, as I read the sign many times, those who forget the past, are destined to relive it. Yeah, you're reinventing the wheel, making the same mistake over and over again, largely because we've got a transition of newer CBOC members, newer staff people, newer board members, newer superintendents. They may not know what we did and how we screwed something up in 2007. Okay, so that's a critical thing. Theoretically, we've got enough of an overlap, so we're not making the same mistakes over and over again, but it's never a bad thing to track them and keep on top of that. Okay? There's nothing else? Yeah. Item Q,
I'm gonna join on Zoom.
right? Okay.
Have a kid that's flexible too.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, I hate when that happens. Okay, Tashiana is leaving us at 7:59 PM. I'm gonna take note. Technically, we do not have a quorum here. That doesn't mean we can't discuss things, we just can't vote on anything, but son of a gun, we don't have anything to vote on anyway. I know the guy puts together the agenda packets, we make things like that on purpose. Okay, on the website itself, as we've been told, they are transitioning to a completely new website. The problem is that what we know of as the old website, some of it is still there. You do a Google search for an item and you're gonna get the nefarious page 404. Which I got last Monday night, I got about 9 or 10 times where I finally reached out to all the right people. They had a meeting with me the very next day and they explained to me at least how to get to our page. But at the board meeting last Wednesday night, I had 4 people come up to me. How do we get the agenda for the board meeting? And I was able to show them a quick and easy way because they made the same mistake that I was trying to do a Google search of it. It's gonna be like that for a couple of months. Okay, but on the CBOC end of the website, we're not gonna discuss it tonight. We're gonna defer this to our next meeting. We don't have time, but we need to ask ourselves, what do we want to see on the new version of the CBOC website? All right, so I need you to do your homework. Take a look at it. Don't just look at the cover page. Start clicking on things. Look at the pull down menus on there. What do we want to see new and added? What do we want to see different? What do we no longer want to see? So, and you don't have to wait till the next meeting. Feel free to reach out to me and you think about something in the middle of the night, send me a text or something. We'll add it to the list. Okay? Any questions or comments on this? At all?
There's none at this time.
Okay, we're moving right along. Hang on. I need to write down at least a couple of words since I'm taking the minutes. Okay. And we're gonna defer measure R till after we get to item S, the bond program bidding process. Now the bidding process has been modified over the years. It used to be an extremely public and transparent thing. where they would bring up all of the bids at the board meeting. They would review them, they would take a vote on them, before awarding things. At the board meeting itself, the public wanted to weigh in, they could do that then. It doesn't seem like that is the process right now. And we've also, modified the type of design delivery models that we use. It used to be, design, bid, build. Okay, we would design a project, we'd put it out for bid. And the lowest responsible bidder, and then they would award the contract to actually build it. Then they transition to design build. Okay, some of us have been around for a while, been in construction for a while. We have some problems with that. I'll get to that in a few minutes, but where they come up with a contractor and they decide which contractor they're going to use, and they will go work with it to bring an architect on board and decide at that point. Then there's lease back. Okay, that was the one that I'm still having an extremely tough time getting my arms around the concept of that. But I want to hear presentations from staff. I provided documents here. These were pulled off of online. I just did a Google search on there. It doesn't mean that they're the defining document on there, explaining about the 6 construction project methods compared. Half of those we don't use. The last 3, I believe, or even 4. Explaining about lease back versus design bid build. Okay, lease back construction project delivery and the lease back construction project delivery that was presented to the board in April and May of this year. Those are included in here as well. But I'm going to turn things over to the facilities team and our attorney to try to explain to us about these things. It's important for all the new people to understand how these operate, how they work, the pros and the cons of each of them as much as possible. Okay, because I guarantee you that a fair number of the board members do not understand the 3 concepts that I just described. Because I've asked them and they've got that glazed look on their eyes. They don't want to say, I haven't got a clue what I voted on. But I think it's obvious to a lot of people that they don't have a clue what they voted on. So hopefully that we can share some of this information with them as well. So turn things over.
Terrific, thank you. When Dawn reached out last Wednesday to ask for some additional information on these, one of the things that we wanted to do was pull existing resources that we had shared in public meetings to kind of answer some of the questions. Part of what we want to do here is be a resource to really answer questions and help build connections and receive feedback. But we also kind of want to share some of the things that are available in different forums. And so I asked Mr. Phil Henderson to join us tonight. And the presentation that we have here is the one that was presented to the board back in April of 2024. When we do a integrated project delivery method like lease back or design build, before we can move forward with that procurement, we go to the board and ask for their approval to use that integrated delivery method. We are using all 3 delivery methods, and it's really on a project by project basis. And so one of the things that I'll be putting together as well is how we have some related resources to all of these things in our program management plan in our PMP. But I didn't have time to do that before this meeting because we received the questions the same day the packet was due. So tonight we're going to just be going over some materials from some previous meetings. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Phil so he can kind of walk you through the 3 different delivery methods and lease back in more detail, which is the delivery method that we have for the Kennedy High School and Richmond High School modernization projects. And so turn it over to you.
Thanks, Melissa. So when Melissa asked me to do this, I thought the best thing to do was basically for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to pretend you're the board and it's April of 2024. So I'm going to basically walk through the exact presentation I did with the board. I don't remember how many minutes it took me to do it then. I probably went quickly because it was probably at the end of the meeting at 10 o'clock at night, a little bit earlier tonight. So by all means, stop me if you want throughout this presentation. I'll answer questions throughout, or we can wait to the end, but I'll go ahead and go through these slides. So first of all, as Don pointed out and Melissa reiterated, there are three main delivery methods. One is the traditional design bid build. That's formal bidding. And you put it out to bid and you get a price, and the only basis to award the contract is only on price. You don't evaluate anything else. Next is design build, and that's one entity. You have a contractor who really has one main consultant, and that's the architect. That's how design build works for K-12 schools in California. And the third one is lease back. And that's the architect is still separate now from the contractor. We'll look at another image in a moment. But you can look at other factors besides just the price when you pick the contractor. So next slide. So visual learners, design bid build. This is what it looks like. Your district team is you and the architect. You put together the plans, and as Don said, when the plans are finally done, you've already got it approved from the state, then you go out to bid. The contractor never has any time to comment on any of the plans. You bid it out, the low bidder comes in, you have the contractor, and they have multiple subcontractors underneath them. That's what that looks like. Next slide. Design build, which we're doing at Stige, and we did at Lake, and maybe one other one, which I'm not remembering what it is. Thank you, Obama. You get a program architect who provides, if you will, like it sounds like a program, a basic concept of what the district wants. We want, 33 classrooms, we want it, an NPR, whatever. And then you put out an RFQ, a request for qualifications, but a request for proposal as well, depending on how you structure it. And you go through an evaluation process. You don't just pick Bob off the street. You hire a design build entity. In K-12 construction, that is almost always a contractor. It is impossible to find an architect and a contractor who actually have a joint venture. They just don't bid on California schools. So you end up under that design build entity as a contractor, but you have one contractor. And again, that contractor's first consultant is the architect. And that architect is the architect selected at the same time. We've evaluated the contractor and the architect when we do it through that RFQ, the request for qualifications. They hire sub-consultants, usually an electrical engineer, mechanical, plumbing, etc. And when they're ready, they hire construction subcontractors, but that happens much later. Well, and I'm going to touch on that when we go to lease back, which is the next slide. This slide probably looks a little bit like design bid build. We have a contract with an architect, separate from the contractor. We go out for when the design is usually just started, and I'll get to that in a minute. We'll go out to an RFQ for a contractor, which is what we did for Kennedy, what we did for Richmond High. You hire a contractor at a time very early on in the design process. The reason why? You want the contractor to be working with the architect on the plans. They'll do value engineering, they'll do constructability review, they will review systems, etc., and so on during design. The advantage of that is you can usually go much more quickly, and everyone knock on wood, hopefully you're reducing some of the cost. I'm going to get to cost in a few minutes, but that's one of the reasons we will look at lease back. And again, same thing, that you have a contract with a contractor and multiple subcontractors underneath. We'll talk about the subcontractor selection. We'll make a few more slides. Let's go to the next one. Oops, cool, there you go. There is a competitive selection process for lease back. This is not just picking anybody off the street. We have to statutorily put an ad in the paper, we issue an RFQP, and we will evaluate the contractors that respond to that request for qualifications based on their past experience working with school districts, their past experience maybe on the particular kind of project, their bonding capacity, their pricing. We do ask for pricing components. We can't ask for the final price, but what can we ask for at this point? What's their markup going to be? What are their estimated general conditions? General conditions are how do they manage the project? What's the markup on change orders? How much are they going to charge for bonds and insurance? How much are they going to charge us for builder's risk insurance? What are they going to charge us for the subcontractor markup? How about the subcontractor markup on the change order? We ask about, there's probably 16 different pricing components. What can we not ask for? What's the final subcontractor price? Why? Because the design is probably about an hour ago, Evelyn said you're in schematic design, design development, and construction documents. The ideal time to get a lease back contractor, usually early design development. So you still have an opportunity to chime in on the systems, etc. As I said a moment ago, we can't price the subcontractors yet because we haven't gone out to bid on that. We'll get to that in a minute as well. Some lease backs, but the district didn't do it. It might be at final design. To be honest, that's not really using lease back the way it's supposed to be. That's like turning it into a formal bid. you can get the final pricing at that moment. But if you want to take advantage of the contractor working with the architect, you don't do it that early. And there's a requirement in the statute that says at the moment in time, you're ready to go out to bid. You've heard about Division of State Architect. That's the people that approve the plans. When the DSA has finally signed off on the plans, the contractor must put an ad in the paper to solicit all the subcontractors. The subcontractors then get selected. There is still a best value component. They get to evaluate the past experience of the subcontractors. But as we call it, it's open book. The district and the contractor look at all the prices that come in from the subcontractors. And at that point, evaluate what are the subs pricing that's come in. And then, as I said a moment ago, I know this is kind of complex, I'm going quick. We apply all those increased, like how much you're gonna charge on bonds and insurance, et cetera. But you add that to the subcontractor numbers that we got when we told the contractor to go up there. Next slide. Going back a half a step. So as we talked about, this was in April 2024. Melissa, I think you went back to the board in May of 2024 and they passed the resolution. The resolution to approve lease back included what were all the criteria we're gonna ask all the contractors? What are we gonna ask in the request for qualifications? In the proposals, what are we asking for? When we interview them, what are the questions we're gonna ask in the interviews? And what are the scoring numbers that are gonna be? All that was approved by the board in May of 2024. So this has gone to the board twice before they did this. We must put an advertisement in the paper, just like a formal bid, to solicit anybody who wants to come off the street. And to be fair, and we also can send it to the folks that we want to have propose on it. So as big of a net as we can throw for people to propose on a project. Pre-qualification, I don't want to go too deep into it. Pre-qualification is a step where you can qualify contractors. It's a statutory step. You get to choose to do it when you formally bid. You must do it when you use lease back. And you must pre-qualify. And there's a state form, there's a form you can adapt to it. You must pre-qualify the general contractor. You must pre-qualify the main mechanical contractors, the electrical contractors, and the plumbing subcontractors. So all those subs have to go through a pre-qualification process. They can't even propose to the general later on unless they pre-qualify. Okay, next slide. Evaluation of the contractors. As I said, we get to look at something besides price. To be fair, we have a scoring sheet. What's the number one item with the highest score? Yeah, it's still price. We mark price as high as anything else, but we actually want the past experience, not only working on these kind of projects, but that they've done lease back. Have they worked with the district before? Who are they going to staff? When we invited the contractors who were in the short list to come to interview, they had like some 15 people in the damn room. Anyway, who's the superintendent you're gonna put on the project? Who's the project manager you're gonna have on the project? Who's the project executive? Who's your two project engineers? So we had everyone that was gonna actually work on the project get interviewed by the district's team. So that whole evaluation process, again, doesn't skip over price. It's what we include in as well as the price. And then the district selects it and the board approves it. We do generally what we call a preliminary services agreement, pre-con agreement. That's what I've been talking about. When you come in before you, the design's done and during design development, we'll pay this contractor. It's usually maybe a 5-digit number, depending on what the project is. We'll pay them money to be working with the, working with the architect. You're not working with the architect throughout the project, through the design development, and even through some of the construction documents. As Ellen said, at some point during construction documents, okay, you probably had less input now. It's in DSA, you're doing final systems, but the contractor is still working with the architect on finalizing the plans that are going to go out to all those subcontractors. Next slide. Pre-construction to final pricing. I don't have to dive too deep into this. I guess I've probably been talked a lot about this before. Again, we'll go through the pre-construction services with the contractor. That final price, as I said, and I'm going to reiterate this because this is really important. Usually at either 98% or 99%, or when the documents are in DSA for approval, final design. And we're not at that, by the way, Richmond High or Kennedy High. We're not even, I don't know how close we are, but we're not at final design documents yet.
We have submitted, well, our early packages went to DSA already, and the first building package for phase 1 has been submitted for both Kennedy and Richmond.
I'm gonna make another point here, but so that final price, subcontractor procurement process, we put this into the lease back documents. They show, they must advertise, which is in the statute. The evaluation process is very detailed. We don't let them self-perform, meaning the contractor, unless they get at least two other prices from the subcontractor, because I don't want the contractor turning in their own price with no competition. We inject as much competition into this step, that second bullet point, as possible. And some lease-leaseback contractors don't expect to see that, but we instituted it and implemented on them. Ellen just made a good point. I should have brought it up earlier. And something else you can do with lease-leaseback, you can break the project into phases. That's really hard with formal bidding. In other words, formal bidding is you have the plans done, you put it through DSA. When it's finally out of DSA, you put it and you get one number for the entire project. We can break this project into, okay, we want site work and a demo, maybe some utilities. That'll be the first package. And like you said, that package can go to DSA, get pre-approved, get approval. We can bid out that package while we're still working on the buildings, the systems and everything else in the other package. So that right there, depending on the project and probably two large high schools, we're probably saving months if I won't see a year. We're not saving a year, but we're saving time on the schedule in that process. So that's another benefit, which probably wasn't part of the slide.
It also lets us hit the summer schedule. So we had to tear down the 100, 200 and 500 during summer. It was too close to the other buildings. It was not safe to take them down when people were on site. So that was another component that was important to the schedule.
Okay, next slide. Almost done. I think I probably went this fast with the board. About 10 years ago, how old am I getting? When was 2000? Oh my gosh, it is 10 years ago, 2015. Lease-leaseback was challenged, and a handful of cases were brought by really one attorney in San Diego. He was an anti-tax guy. Challenged lease-leaseback as a structure. This is a statutory structure in the education code. This is again an alternative formal bidding, which is what we've been talking about for the past 10 minutes. They were challenging it because there were some districts who were just awarding it to folks without going through any type of competition. And the statute was about 2 paragraphs long. All the cases, except for this case, the Davis case, were actually ruled in favor of the school districts. The Davis case did not. The Davis case ruled against the school district. Again, this statute was 2 paragraphs long at this point. It was a post-war statute when there was hard financing for school districts, and they really would finance these projects. What the Davis court said is if you're going to do a lease-leaseback, you must include financing, you must include a genuine lease, and there can't be any conflict of interest. Those are the 3 main points from the Davis case. So how we structured them now, and by the way, the statute was rewritten 2 years later in 2017. It's now about 4 pages long. It has all kinds of requirements that we must follow. Briefly, let me explain what it means by a genuine lease and financing. Lease-leaseback means we structure it where we lease the site, not the entire site, whatever site they're going to work on. So like at Kennedy, it's actually a large portion of the site because I think they're touching almost every single building. That's the lease of the site lease. It's for $1 a year. When they're done constructing it, they're going to lease the facility back to us for at least a year. It has to be a genuine lease. There has to be a time and place. And there must be some financing involved. To be fair, I think the Davis court is wrong. There is no financing requirement in the statute. But I'm not going to become the test case, and neither are any of my colleagues who work for school districts. We put financing into it, so we're consistent with the Davis case. The financing for the lease-leaseback, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated. At the end of the project, I forget if it was Melissa or Ellen talked about retention. We pay 95% of the project during construction. And at the end of the project, we have 5% we call retention. When they're done with the project, we'll pay them the final 5%. The financing for lease-leaseback almost always, and we do this with the district, that 5%, that becomes the lease payments. We take that 5%, we pay that over 12 months after completion. 5% of this project will get paid after the district occupies these buildings. And what happens? The contractor charges us interest on that. So we're going to pay 1 to 4%, forget which, over on BHN, relatively much. We'll pay, let's say 2%, I might be wrong in the exact number, of interest on 5% of the contract for 12 months. That's the financing component of lease-leaseback. And that satisfies the genuine lease requirement from the Davis case and the financing component from the Davis case. I think that is about it. I know I went through that really quick. I'm of course ready to answer any questions if you'd like. Oh yeah, sorry, quickly on this slide right before that, there was another 2023 decision with Supreme Court. It's irrelevant for lease lease back really. It just talks about whether or not the use of bond funds satisfy, whether or not you can go for a validation action. I can explain that to you if you really want something to, put you to sleep, but it's unrelated to whether or not the districts can use lease lease back for construction.
And one of the things we did related to this slide is since this was Kennedy and Richmond, it was the first time we were gonna be using lease back as a school district. Even though many school districts have used it, is we did an FAQ. And so we published an FAQ, we put it in the Friday memo, and we just thought, what are some of the concerns and kind of the questions about lease back? And we really wanted to address those head on and be really open and honest. Very similarly, we did the same thing the first time we did our first design build project is, when you're introducing something new, it's a really good opportunity to really talk about why is this different and why do we think this is the right strategy? And so I do have that FAQ that we published back then that addressed these things very specifically. And so that's what this slide was speaking to. And so that was essentially the presentation. And then we went back in May, as Phil shared, with kind of the specific criteria and procedures that we were going to use for the procurement. And then we did the procurement after that.
And real quickly, Don, I noticed you had mentioned that you pulled offline, I think, those two articles. Procore one.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Procore is a software platform. I don't know the two authors at all, just Procore, I get. I'm not sure the basis for it. I scanned them. I gotta be honest, I didn't read every word from those two articles. And then CW Driver is actually a contractor. They do K-12 construction actually. So they're actually an interested party to do leases back. So I haven't seen CW Driver probably formally bid a project in well over a decade, but they do propose on lease backs. And I think they've done a couple design builds, but I'm not sure if they still do them. So just like the context of where those came from.
I was not advocating. With
Oh,
them.
I know
Yeah,
that. Yeah. You just saw them.
They paid Google to put them up at the top of the list.
Yeah, sponsored. Yeah.
I appreciate the information. As the new kid on the block,
Before you get there, because of the time right now, okay?
I just want to understand what's the purpose of this item.
I'm sorry, I need a procedural thing I've got to do.
Okay,
If we're gonna, either we adjourn or we extend.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Sure. Yeah, I bet you do. On this, we've got the first item on there was on the program bidding process. I'm going to defer that to the next meeting because there's a lot of questions to be asked on that. On measure T, unless somebody objects on the hazardous material abatement, I want to defer that to our next meeting as well. You as a chairperson report will take 2.5 minutes. Future agenda topics will take about another 30 seconds to a minute. I'm guessing that we might, the 2005 measure J is important. And it's time sensitive on there. I'm thinking we extend by about neighborhood of 20 minutes, We're okay with that?
I can do 10 minutes.
What?
I can do 10 minutes.
Okay. We can't do it all in 10 minutes, but we have to do what we have to do. Okay, go ahead now. Your question.
Oh, the question, okay. Yeah, so we're receiving this information. Thank you so much for the very fast
Yeah, I know.
presentation. I appreciate it. No, it was great. As the new kid on the block, what is the purpose of us receiving this information? Is it to weigh the pros and cons as the committee, or are we looking to change the process?
We can't change the process, only the board can change the process. But you may be getting questions from the community, like I certainly have been getting a lot of them, which questions, lease back, and even design build, is the community getting the best bang for their buck with their hard-earned tax dollars on this? And so it's important that we at least be aware of what is being used, because this is an integral part of our construction of our projects and the bond program. That's why you're getting information on this. But the lease back in particular, I don't want to get into my comments on there. There's a lot of questions involved with that about what the heck is this all about, and why are we so gung ho to embrace it? That's why it's being brought to you.
Okay, that's helpful to understand because sometimes there's agenda items and I just want to have a big picture around why are we getting this and.
No, I expect you to ask those questions,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I need to head out.
all right, we are getting down to where,
No, the school night, and I have to,
I understand, okay,
first day of school.
I'm gonna go and give my, a couple of my questions and comments, and then we'll just say adios, for the night. But one of the questions I've got, for instance, whether it's design bid, or it's a design build or lease back, you know, how can any legitimate contractor bid on a project with a fixed monetary bid when the project is still just a concept? I mean, money is a big part of the bidding process. But nobody can bid on, this is what we think is gonna cost us to build your new section of these high schools. We haven't got a clue what you're gonna ask us to do. You wouldn't do that. I mean, it just, I'm at a loss trying to figure out how can we actually do this? How can the district, how can the community invest their tax dollars on a project when nobody has any idea about exactly what's gonna be built there? That's a concern I've got. And it comes down to, how can the public be assured that the bid process and the awarding of contracts are things that they should have faith in? When the information is not really being presented to the public, even at the board meetings, it's not being presented, especially at a time when they're still there and paying attention. When you bring it up at 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, that's not the best time on there. And the question I've got here, what newspapers are we advertising this in?
Whatever we did for the formal bidding.
What,
So West County Times,
All right.
so proof of publishing, we use the same papers that we use for any delivery method.
okay, I don't know what the word,
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking.
yeah.
I mean, I know the contractors, there's some engineering a newspaper that they all subscribe to, but it lists all these projects. Do we put anything in there?
We do. So we follow a lot of the same procedures, no matter what the delivery method is. And so for any project, when we advertise something, whether it's an official bid or whether it's an RFQP, we have a plan holders list. And so we issue it locally, we list it to builders exchanges. There's about 11 different places that we provide the information to, and then from there, it further distributes out.
Okay. All right, anybody have anything else? Yeah,
Yeah, just some thoughts on this. So I think it's fascinating that this district is like doing every different way you can deliver a project. I think it's pretty unique because most districts, from my experience, sort of settle on one that works for them, and they generally tend to use it. He's shaking his head.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I've seen lease back used for districts I do work with, even for small projects.
Yeah.
So I know that happens. I'm sure different districts do different things. For me, it's kind of back to my point or question or future agenda topic. I think there's a really unique opportunity to kind of capture and compare, since this district with the same personnel and the same place with the same construction costs are doing it, you know, taking different approaches to projects within the district. So I think there's a really unique opportunity to capture that data and kind of compare what worked well here, what didn't work well there. I realize that you guys or that there is a group of district staff that's deciding, maybe with a consultant, which approach is better for which project, presumably. But I think that would be really interesting. I think it's kind of fascinating to have that opportunity. I know there are, you know, big successes using these models. There are big failures. I have no idea what this district has experienced. I think I would guess that kind of, because these approaches are pretty unique, they're each is very different from the other. Obviously, there are similarities, but that it's probably challenging to kind of have such different approaches to a construction project, because like design build, you know, you do one, you learn a lot, you do 10, you learn a whole lot more, and you kind of get accustomed to this team being able to understand, you know, that delivery method. If you're kind of jumping around, I would guess that it's harder to do that. But I don't know. And I'd be curious what the district's experience is with that. And hope that there's an opportunity to, you know, kind of capture the data as these projects go through. I think it would be really valuable, not just for the future of West Contra Costa, but like for anyone doing it, because it really is, I think it's pretty unique. I could be wrong, but it's an interesting opportunity, I think.
The next cash workshop.
Yeah, my 55 years of experience in heavy construction is working as senior management on billion-dollar projects in an oil refinery. Oil refinery, schools, not the same at all. Government agency, not the same at all. And so some of these things are just a little bit foreign to me. I'm used to contractors making bids on projects because they've got the design there. They have some idea how many man hours are going to be on a project, you know, what kind of materials are involved. There's always gray areas on there, but it's not, my experience has nothing to do with building schools. That's why I'm interested in some of these things. It's difficult for me to take what I know on the petrochemical complexes and transition it over to these schools. Because some of the things I just have a tough time getting my arms around on this. So, I mean, I want to thank, like I said, we have any questions from the home people?
No.
All right, thank you. I want to thank Phil Henderson for coming here and explaining things. Yeah, since he's as directly involved as it can be on this, it's great getting the information directly from the horse's mouth. Since we've got to get out of here, I'm going to defer everything else. And if there's no objection, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 8:33 p.m. Thank you all for coming. I would strongly suggest that when I extend the invitation again for our newbies to get together and meet with me so I can explain some of these things, if we can find the time. Yeah, you all get your own schedule, so I try to discuss with you, but try to make the time on it before we get too